Hello and welcome to Talk Truth. My name is Corri Hunsperger. I've got my father, Allan Hunsperger, in the studio. We're going to start off with our foundational verse because we're going to be talking about climate change, energy, all things that were created from the Lord because why? He created the world. Psalm 24, 1 and 2 says, "The earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants belong to the Lord, for he laid its foundation on the seas and established it on the rivers." Psalm 24, 1 and 2. If you're new here, Allan and I believe that God created this beautiful planet that we get to enjoy. Whether it's the fish in the river, whether it's the moose, whether it's the bear that you run away from, when you find him in your lunch, when you're camping with your family, whatever it is, you and me, God created it. He established the earth. That's kind of where we start, right, Dad?
Absolutely. You know, of course, Living in Truth is my new book that's out. But the interesting thing is God spoke and it was. Yeah. So living truth means the power of God's word. Psalms 33:9 says, "For he spoke and it came into being. He commanded and it came into existence." So just as Psalms 24 declares the earth was founded by his command, Psalms 33 reminds us that every atom in creation answers to his voice. And when God speaks, reality responds. Mountains rise, oceans part, hearts change. If his word created the universe, it can certainly renew a broken life. Living in truth means believing that the same word that formed the earth can still form hope, peace, and purpose in you today.
Ooh, love that. Pastor Allan, breaking it down. Well, I'm excited about today's guest because the beauty of the scene behind you and Allan and me is absolutely something God-given. We believe that. And man is coming in to try to destroy it and like, I'm in charge. Anyway, we got Steve Gorham. He is the executive director of the Climate Science Coalition of America, and author of 4 books on energy, climate change, and sustainable development with over 100,000 copies in print. Steve's latest book is Green Breakdown, The Coming Renewal Energy Failure. It is failing, everybody. It is failing, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation about how it's all tanking. But let's bring on our guest. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, Corri. Hey, Allan. Great to join you today. And I have to agree with your opening statement. You know, I'm a Christian myself, but it's amazing how many Christians believe in climatism, the fear of man-made global warming. And generally, if you ask a Christian, does the Lord God act in your daily lives? They generally say, yeah, he does. And then they say, well, then I have to ask, well, when did he lose control of the climate, which is a pretty big thing. But the world is spending about $2 trillion a year on renewables to try and stop temperatures from rising. But the evidence shows that climate is dominated by nature, not man, and that probably all of the efforts that are being done to put renewables in a place are not going to have a measurable effect on global temperatures.
Steve, we often hear this line that they keep giving everybody, that wind and solar, it's going to produce the cheapest electricity ever. In fact, not only is it going to be cheap, you probably won't have to pay anything. We'll be paying you because you're going to be doing so amazing. You know, if you put a thing on the top of your house or pay a lot of money for a windmill on your farm. But the power prices are rising fast in the states that are pursuing those green policies. Can you explain why?
They are, and they're due to the green policies. I've just sent an article off to be published. We'll see where it goes. But in it, I have a graph that is data from the U.S. Department of Energy on the state electricity price increases over the last 5 years. And you look at the leaders, and they're really all states that have been proposing green energy policies. Connecticut, California, Maine, New York, Maryland, and Massachusetts all have their electricity bills are up over 30% in the last 5 years. The nation is at about 22.5% over that period, the national electricity rise, and inflation is at 22.7%. So the national rise and inflation are about the same, but all of these blue states, if you will, have power prices that are rising faster. And the reason is green policies in many cases. And by the way, other states like Georgia and Florida, Texas, Missouri have prices that are rising less than the national average. But, to give you some examples, California is one of the biggest, up 58% in the last 5 years, and actually up their electricity prices up 116% since 2008. And they're getting about 53% of their generated electricity from wind and solar in the state. Another thing is you can look at Europe, and if you plot the nations of Europe and where their prices are, you find that the nations with the most wind and solar have the highest electricity prices. So despite what you see in the headlines all the time that renewables are cheaper, the evidence really doesn't show that.
The interesting thing that I hear is, China is the one that makes the windmills, and yet China's building coal plants that are going to produce electricity one a week or something like that. And then what do you do with those windmills when they can't run anymore? And we've talked to people who actually do maintenance on these windmills, and they're broke more often than they actually work, and don't produce enough electricity to even pay for the repair of the windmill. So it's unbelievable.
Well, it's the same with the cars, Dad. When the battery dies in your Tesla or whatever, I mean, they're having to pay $60,000, $70,000 for a brand new battery. It's not even worth the price of the car, right?
They can be expensive, somewhat lower than that, but the price is very big for battery replacement. And you're right about wind. The wind is heavily subsidized. It can add to the grid, but it can't replace traditional dispatchable power. As Chris Wright, our energy secretary, says, it can't replace nuclear or coal or natural gas. You have to have those systems backing up wind. And so the total system cost gets to be higher. And you're right about, when they break or something, off the coast of Nantucket, they had a single blade break off of an offshore wind turbine this last summer. It was a 300-foot-long blade. It washed up on the beach, and it took 6 dump trucks full of debris to get rid of that wind turbine debris. So, as a matter of fact, some people, Mark Mills, for example, who wrote the foreword in my last book, Green Breakdown, he's an energy expert. He's pointed out that in a big wind system, one of the real big ones, there's more plastic in the wind in the wind blades than there is for all the plastic bottles on the surface of the earth. So, they're really not very environmentally friendly, and this is all driven by the fear of man-made warming.
Well, I was super excited when California recently announced that the Ivanpah solar facility will be closed in California. Anyone that's driven around that state, you've seen it. It's massive. It's an eyesore. They've spent billions of dollars creating it. It's failed. Why are they closing it? In my opinion, it's a failure. I always knew it was going to fail. But anyway, why are they closing it?
Well, the Orange are closing it, I think, by next year. This is really an engineering marvel in many ways. It covers 6 square miles. There are all these mirrors that shine light on 3 towers to warm a fluid and to generate electricity. But it requires a couple 100,000 of these mirrors. When it was built in 2014, it was the largest solar installation in the world. And now, after only a little more than 10 years, they're going to close it. It would cost about $2.2 billion, more than $1 billion of that was subsidies. But it's just not producing enough electricity. It's not meeting its output goals. And so they're going to close it. By the way, this is also a bird killer, this the Ivanpah. They're estimating, some people have estimated that 6,000 birds a year are killed by this facility. And they fly close to these towers, and the heat is so intense from the mirrors that the birds actually start smoking and fall to earth. They call this, they have a word for this even, they call it streamers. So it's really a tough situation. And now they're going to have to try and recycle all of this mirror material. It's going to cost more expensive to recycle it. It's probably going to end up going mostly to landfills. Just not very environmentally friendly. And just another example of where solar and wind tend to be weak compared to other more dispatchable power sources.
Steve, where are the environmentalists on this? Because we know, a lot of the government, departments can't even clear up the brush in the forest because we might disturb a beetle or a mosquito that's going extinct. But now what you're saying, 6,000 birds are getting vaporized in the air from these facilities. And it's crickets. Where's the environmentalists on this? These guys usually win over a beetle or a frog, you know what I mean, in a stream. How come no one's screaming at the top of their lungs on this one?
Well, environmentalism used to be conservation and saving the whales and pushing back against nuclear power and a lot of other things. But the climate change movement has captured the core of the environmental movement over the last 30 or 40 years. And all these renewable facilities get passes, wind turbines as well. It's pretty well documented that wind turbines in California have killed hundreds and hundreds of bald eagles and condors and other birds that are protected, but they get a pass. They have gotten a pass from the federal government for many years. And by the way, wind and solar, a guy by the name of Vaclav Smil has written a whole book on the electrical footprint of the land area required to produce power for all the different power sources. And he finds out compared to solar and coal, compared to nuclear and coal and natural gas, wind and solar require 100 times the land to produce the same average output of power, 100 times the land. If it was not for the fear of man-made warming, none of these things would be considered environmentally friendly.
I think Donald Trump has said it best. It's ugly. It makes the country look ugly. And everyone has driven past some of these areas, and it's just ugly. You recently wrote an article where you pointed out that artificial intelligence revolution is now driving the electrical power in the United States. What are the implications of this?
Yeah, this is really a huge change. For 2 decades, we had almost no growth in electrical power in the United States. But then in November of 2022, ChatGPT came out with its conversational AI chatbot, which showed that machines could talk like and converse like humans. And all of a sudden, we had this explosion of artificial intelligence. And now it is driving the United States electrical grid. Start of 2024, we had 2,700 data centers in the United States. Now that's over 4,000. It's gone up more than 50% in less than 2 years. And not only new data centers to run AI, but they're upgrading old data centers with AI servers. And when you put AI servers in and you move from running the internet and grid storage up to running AI, it requires 6 to 10 times as much electrical power as you did with the old servers. So we have this massive demand. Start of 2024, data centers used about 4% of U.S. electrical power. It's estimated that will be 20% within about 10 years, just a huge increase. And so we have what they call the hyperscalers, Meta and Microsoft and Google and Amazon that are building these data centers all over the country to run artificial intelligence. Other firms too. An example is Tesla. Tesla near Memphis put up their Colossus XAI within 6 months. It used 200,000 graphics processing units. Now Tesla is there's solar and a battery company. But they didn't use solar and battery to power their data center. They went out and put in 35 on-site gas turbines. Yeah. And so that's what's going on around the country. We have these huge systems that are putting in gas turbines to run artificial intelligence. And wind and solar can't do this. AI has to run 24 hours a day, weeks on end. Wind and solar are intermittent. So it's really a tremendous change to our whole grid and power system.
And Steve, not to mention, I know it's come up in Arizona. All these, because they're booming out here. They're putting up tons of data centers in Arizona. The problem is the water consumption that it takes to cool these. I don't know why they put a data center in all these in 118 degree heat in the summer. But, the water, I mean, we're talking like millions and millions of gallons of water to keep these systems cool. It feels like we're going backwards. They're trying to sell us that this is better for the environment. It just feels like everything you're talking about, things that we're seeing now that we're smarter because the years have gone by, we've seen the results. We're damaging the environment more than we are improving it. Would you say that's fair?
Well, I think the new systems going in on data centers are going to be better. Now, if you're right, you have to cool these things. They produce a lot of power, these circuits and servers. And if you have an evaporative cooling system, you're evaporating all this water, and so you're continually using water, and you use an awful lot of electrical power too. But the newer systems are building their own waste treatment plants. I think they're doing that in New Mexico, for example. I don't know about Arizona. So they're taking salty water and they're treating it so they can use it in the data center. And then the other thing they're doing on some of these systems is they're figuring out how to recycle the water. So it requires an initial amount of water you put in, but after that, there's not much in the way of changes. So yeah, these systems use a lot of water. They use a lot of power. And local communities need to say, okay, where are you going to get the water from? Are you going to reuse the water so we're not continuously using new water? Are you going to build your own power plant, for example, for the power because the grid won't handle it? Just to give you another example, Meta is building a Hyperion system, they call it, in northern Louisiana, and it is it's claimed to be the biggest data center in the Western Hemisphere. They are working with the utility to build 3 new on-site gas power plants to power this thing. And when it gets completed within 4 or 5 years, it's supposed to use twice as much electricity as the whole city of New Orleans. That's how big some of these things are. So, and it's really up to the communities to say, okay, you got to build your own power plant. And you got to build your own water treatment facility so it doesn't take all the water we're using. It doesn't take all the power we are using.
I want to ask you about President Trump. This summer, President Trump signed and Congress passed resolutions against the state zero emissions mandates. What are the impact of these?
Yeah, well, this is a big deal, and this impacts ZEV laws, which are zero emissions vehicles laws, which have spread to about 20 states now, 22 states. And those laws basically say that by 2035 or 2040, only electric vehicles can be sold. Only zero emissions vehicles are sold. Now, the way these states are able to do these is they have gotten waivers from the Environmental Protection Agency. The EPA gets its power from the Clean Air Act of 1970 and then later versions in the 1980s. And those acts say EPA has the power to regulate pollution in the United States. But the acts also gave the EPA the power to grant waivers to states who wanted to do their own pollution laws. And for example, California has received more than 100 waivers in the last 40 years or so. But now Mr. Trump and also the Congress have canceled these waivers. And so all of these zero emissions vehicles laws basically are struck down. Governor Newsom in California is suing the federal government and hoping to win so that he can keep his ZEV, zero emissions vehicles law. But if he doesn't win and those waivers are reversed, then all of these laws that have been pushing for EVs are going to disappear. And that's going to be a really big change. And not only for the auto industry, but for example, there were also credits in these laws, in the California law, that said if you didn't produce an electric vehicle and you produced a gas car, you had to go out and buy these credits from the electric companies. And Tesla itself has received more than $10 billion worth of credits over the last 5 years, selling these credits to the gasoline companies. But as you say, Mr. Trump has rolled and Congress have rolled these back. So this is a huge change to our auto industry and our pollution laws.
Well, I'm gonna make one statement, then I'll let Alan ask a question because I've been taking up all your time. I don't think the demand's there. I went strolling on a Saturday through a couple car dealerships to kind of see what was out there, and the only deals that they're incredible deals were electric vehicles that were on the lots. I mean, they were just like basically giving them away, and I wasn't interested at all. And I said to the sales manager, I was like, how's the demand for these vehicles? And he says, nobody wants them. That's the problem. Nobody wants them. And are you seeing that too? Is that really, and what are the, indications of a poor market demand for electrical vehicles?
Yeah, well, the EV market demand has stalled in the U.S. Last November, December, January of last year was about 7% of new light vehicles sold were EVs. And then it dropped to about 6% this last summer. And now the One Big Beautiful Bill has eliminated the electric vehicle tax credits for sale. Dealers were able to, or buyers of new EVs could get a $7,500 tax credit. And that ended at the end of September. You could also sell, and people could get up to a $4,000 tax credit for buying a used EV. That has gone away as well. So, demand is stalled in the U.S. It's probably going to go lower than what it was at 7% last year. An American Automobile Association recent survey found that only about 16% of buyers would be looking for an EV the next time around, and that's the lowest it's been for about 5 years. And I think you're right. I mean, the people that have wanted those cool Teslas for second car, they got those mostly. But if you're in an apartment and you have to stretch a charging cable across the public walkway, doesn't work too well.
Yeah, agreed. Alan?
I think it's beautiful because it's going to get coal plants going back in Alberta again, producing electricity. We have some of the cleanest oil or coal in the world. And we've been producing electricity for not only Canada, but also the United States, parts of the United States for decades. And then all of a sudden, these governments come along and say, oh, no, this is bad for the environment, and they shut them down. We still haven't started them up, but I'm believing that that's going to happen because, part of it is because of this AI scenario. And I also like the idea that these companies that are producing these AI things, they're responsible to provide their own electricity. And that's where they're going to these gas, as you said, turbo plants and everything else. And I'm loving it because, part of the reason why we get this, we're going to run out of energy, is evolution. But God created this earth and he said, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, come on, let's go. I mean, we got lots of things that I am providing for you. When we look at God as a provider, we don't have a problem here. But the problem is when man believes in evolution, that's where he turns the wrong corner.
Yeah, you touched on a lot of different things there. Coal certainly needs to be cleaned up, and we've done that with scrubbers and other things to take nitrous oxides and sulfur oxides out, particulates out, so that's really good. But it is a low-cost form of electricity, and you're right, the coal plants now, because of the AI revolution, they're being extended all over the country in many, many states. And and they were being scheduled to close, but there's just not enough power to do that. We also have a bit of a nuclear revolution going on with small modular reactors. And then, of course, the big winner is natural gas. People are building natural gas plants all over. But the other thing is, I don't think U.S. citizens realize how much coal is in use around the world. There are 6,500 coal-fired power plants operating around the world. 1,000 new ones are in planning or under construction, and they provide 35% of the world's electricity. That's the biggest source of electricity. But we still have almost 700 million people that don't have electrical power, and another 2 billion people that have blackouts or brownouts every day or every other day. So we really need more electrical power around the world, and coal is going to continue to play a big role.
Yeah. Steve, we got like 60 seconds, but in your latest book, Green Breakdown, you predicted that the world is heading for a renewable energy failure. What other signs do you see of the coming breakdown?
Well, again, the AI revolution we've talked about, and I want people to picture a huge tidal wave coming. That's the AI revolution, and a little sailboat. That's net zero, and it's about to wash away net zero, this AI revolution. But people should go get Green Breakdown. It'll give them the science and the economics and why a discussion of power plants, home appliances, EVs, heavy industry, heavy transportation, why net zero is going to fail. It's also a color paperback. It has a lot of great sidebars in it that are real headlines. Here's one of them from the Miami New Times. Global warming makes couples cheat, says a dating website. So now people are going to have an excuse. Honey, climate change made me do it. You know, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. Steve, where can people get the book?
They can go to our website, Steve Gorham, GOREHAM.com, and they can, I'll send them a signed copy if they buy one. It's on Amazon, of course, and there are ebooks available as well.
Well, we appreciate you. You've been saying this for years, and you are being proven right every single day as we continue on this future. I appreciate you. Grateful for you. We'll definitely have you back.
Okay, thanks, guys. Keep up the great work.
We're off in a brand new book called Living in Truth. It's yours absolutely free. It's a devotional study on 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. Just 2 verses, everybody, but there's so much gold in it. You can get it absolutely free. Go to our website, gotalktruth.com/resources. Fill out the form. We'll send one to you in the mail for free. Great information out there, and you're going to love it. You bypass these 2 verses. I know you do because I have. But Allan pulls out the gold and really has an important message from those 2 verses. You want to help support what we're doing here? We need your support. We're viewer supported. You can go to our website, gotalktruth.com, click on donate. If you'd like to do it through the mail, you can. In Canada, you can send it to 246 Stewart Grange Southwest, Suite 3260, Calgary, Alberta, T3H3C8. In the U.S., you can make your gift payable to Talk Truth and send it to 4904 South Power Road, Suite 103-152, Mesa, Arizona, 85212. All right, Dad, we're out of time. We'll see you guys later.
Love you.